Imagine a group of soldiers on immaculate horses, dressed in uniforms straight out of a historical film. They don't blink, they don't move, and if you try to test them, good luck. But here's the question. No one is asking, how much does this tradition really cost the UK? The King's Life Guards are a symbol of the British monarchy, but they are also a massive financial asset, or an expensive, well-decorated money drain. While tourists flood London to snap selfies with these imposing guards, the truth about the economic impact of this tradition remains hidden. Are they a strategic investment, or just an extravagant luxury that Britain refuses to let go of? If these guards vanish tomorrow, would the British economy feel the impact? Spoiler, the numbers might surprise you. Now let's step behind the scenes of this luxury operation and uncover the real cost of keeping this tradition alive. The price of tradition. How much do the King's Life Guards really cost? Let's talk about money, because behind the polished boots, the gleaming breastplates, and the perfectly trained horses, there's a staggering price tag that the British public, and to some extent the world, helps to pay. Salaries, training, and the true cost of a soldier on a horse. You see, these aren't just any soldiers playing dress-up. The King's Life Guards are part of the Household Cavalry, an elite regiment that requires years of rigorous training. And unlike regular soldiers, they don't just learn battlefield tactics, they also master the fine art of standing perfectly still while a tourist waves a hot dog in their face. A fully trained member of the Household Cavalry earns an estimated £22,000 to £28,000 per year. And that's just base pay. Specialized training in ceremonial duties and equestrian skills adds millions to the bill every year. And the horses? Each of these majestic creatures costs around £10,000 to £15,000, with additional thousands spent annually on care, feeding, and vet services. That's right, each horse probably has a better healthcare plan than most people. The uniform, because looking expensive, is expensive. If you think your work outfit is pricey, wait until you hear this. The signature gold-plated helmet alone costs over £1,200. The full uniform, including the iconic red or blue tunic, ceremonial boots, and gloves, exceeds £3,500 per soldier. And let's not forget the swords, saddles, and horse armor, all meticulously maintained to keep up appearances. Now multiply that by an entire regiment, and you start to see why the UK government doesn't exactly advertise this bill. Events, infrastructure, and the hidden costs of ceremony. It's not just about the guards themselves. The King's Life Guards are the centerpiece of royal pageantry, and that means massive spending on state events and parades. The grand spectacles you see on TV, each one costs millions in logistics, security, and organization. Barracks maintenance, the historic Horse Guards building in London, where they're based, requires continuous renovation to keep it fit for royalty and tourists. Security and crowd control. Because, believe it or not, people love messing with them. And the police presence around them, another hidden cost. How does this compare to other military spending? Here's where it gets interesting. While a frontline British Army soldier deploys with a standard-issue kit costing around £3,000, a fully outfitted King's Life Guard costs at least 5 times that amount. In essence, for the price of one ceremonial guard, you could equip an entire squad of modern infantry soldiers. And while those troops are out there handling real-world threats, the lifeguards are handling drunk tourists and curious pigeons. But before you think it's all a waste of money, let's pause for a second. Because this extravagant tradition might just be a secret financial goldmine. And in the next part, we'll dive into how these guards might actually generate more money than they cost. Luxury tourism. How much do the King's lifeguards bring to the UK? All right, let's flip the script. We've talked about how much these guards cost, but here's the real question. Do they actually make money? Spoiler alert, oh yes they do, and a lot more than you think. The Royal Spectacle, a tourist magnet, worth millions. Picture this, you're in London, you have your camera ready, a coffee in one hand, and a painfully overpriced umbrella in the other. What's on your bucket list? Buckingham Palace? Check. Big Ben? Obviously. Watching an emotionless guard stand in the rain while someone dances in front of him? Absolutely. Royal pageantry is one of the biggest tourism drivers in the UK, and the King's lifeguards play a leading role in that spectacle. In fact, over 30 million tourists visit the UK every year, and a significant portion of them come for the royal experience. The Changing of the Guard alone attracts tens of thousands of visitors per event. Studies suggest that royal-related tourism injects an estimated 500 million to £1 billion into the UK economy annually. And before you think, well, that's the whole monarchy, not just the guards, consider this. Would tourists really flock to Buckingham Palace just to stare at a fancy building? Or is it the living, breathing, gold-plated spectacle that makes it feel like stepping into a fairy tale? Merch madness, the business of looking royal. And then there's merch, because let's be honest, nothing screams, I went to London, more than a fridge magnet of a tiny British soldier. Souvenir shops make millions every year, selling everything from toy soldiers to lifeguard keychains. Even luxury brands cash in, creating expensive, royally inspired collections. You can buy a full replica of the King's Guard uniform for upwards of £1,500, because apparently some people take their souvenirs very seriously. And it's not just the shops near Buckingham Palace. The ripple effect spreads to hotels, restaurants, and tour companies, all profiting from the royal fantasy. How do they compare to other tourist attractions? Now, let's put things into perspective. The Tower of London brings in about £100 million per year. Stonehenge, roughly £50 million annually. The King's Guards and royal-related tourism, hundreds of millions. Even West End theatres don't match the draw of royal traditions. And guess what? Unlike actors, these guards don't need scripts, stage directors, or fancy effects. They just stand there, and the money flows in. So, before anyone says the King's lifeguards are just for show, remember, sometimes the show is worth more than the ticket price. And in the next part, we'll take a deep dive into a controversial question. Who really profits from the existence of the King's lifeguards? Because, as you'll soon see, not all of this money goes where you think it does. The Royal Sentinels, more than just guards, they're part of London's soul. But let's zoom out a little, shall we? When you really think about it, the Queen's Guards, or Royal Sentinels, are more than just ceremonial figures standing at attention. They represent the very essence of British history and culture. These guards are the living embodiment of a tradition that stretches back centuries, a connection to the monarchy that ties modern London with the echoes of the past. Their presence is a symbol of continuity, a testament to the enduring power and grace of the British monarchy. For tourists, it's not just about seeing the guards, it's about experiencing a living piece of history, a glimpse into a world where tradition and spectacle collide. Whether it's their meticulous uniforms, their stoic discipline, or the grand changing of the guard ceremony, these guards offer something that no guidebook or tourist brochure can replicate. They are part of the magic that makes London what it is. Let's not forget the economic ecosystem these guards support. It's not just the tourists who flock to London to snap photos with the guards, it's the entire network of businesses that rely on the flow of money that comes with them. From the vendors selling their wares to the hotels, transport services, and restaurants bustling with tourists, the Royal Sentinels are part of the machinery that keeps this city alive, economically and culturally. Without them, there would be a gap, one that can't be filled overnight. The absence of such a revered tradition would shake the foundations of what we know about London's tourism industry. Businesses would struggle, jobs would be at risk, and the monarchy, which has stood as a symbol of stability and tradition, would lose one of its most powerful connections with the people. So, if you're fascinated by the history, tradition, and economic impact of the Royal Sentinels, don't let this incredible legacy go unnoticed. Join us here at Royal Sentinels to dive deeper into the fascinating world of the Queen's Guards. We cover everything from their history, their role in the monarchy, to how they help keep London's economy thriving. Subscribe to our channel and never miss an update. Be part of the conversation about these iconic figures who stand guard over London and its future.